Do you think? I think one of the underlying issues here is that commissioners are going for looking at going for a sales tax here in November. How do you think this plays out? You know, the fact that the Veterans Commission gave an increase. How do you think that plays out in public perception when they think about the sales tax?
You don't really want me to answer that, do you?
Well, yeah, we do.
I take all of this very seriously. My personal opinion, Bob Toth, not connected to the Veteran Service, I don't think it's going to happen. Because I'm going to sit back as a veteran and I'm going to look, you know. We did nothing wrong. The board did nothing wrong here. They did what they had to do within the law. They followed the law. And if this is how you're going to treat me as a veteran, I'm not supporting this. A number of years ago, I penned a letter with Judge Cutler, a Republican, by the way, and a close friend of mine, to support the sales tax. That's when Horowitz and them tried to do it the right way, and it succeeded. And I represented as the Executive Director of the Veteran Service Commission supporting that sales tax.
But you would not sign anything to support the sales tax this time around?
Boy, I can't say that.
Let me ask you this. How does somebody get on your board?
Well, the board members serve VFW, American Legion, DAV, VVA, and AMVETS, and they serve 5-year terms. They, whenever the term comes up at the end of the 5 years, the courts send letters out to the various veterans organizations soliciting someone to apply. They submit the application, submit it to the judges, and the judges make the decisions.
So it's not a case of you staffing your own board?
No. No.
So
see, this is what the County Commissioners Association, if you're following anything going on in the world, they're trying to take that control away from the judges. They want that control. See, control.
Does Creighton know about this?
I'm certain she does. Because this is the hot item in the County Commissioners Association.
Of course, Commissioner Ferguson's an official.
Yes, he is.
Have you talked to him specifically? He wasn't there today. Would you have expected him to vote along with Commissioners Burnaby and Creighton today?
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure.
Because you've worked with him on establishing veterans homes here in Stark County,
We're
right?
still working on
that.
Yes, that's, in fact, there's a meeting tomorrow in Columbus with Kirk Schering, who is a Republican, to try to get this thing off the ground. Because I came in touch with a guy from, counterpart from Cuyahoga County that did a study to put a soldier's home in. State of Ohio has 2, one in Chillicothe, one in Sandusky, nothing in between. And they did a study and said, wow, Stark County would probably be a good area to put that in. Mm-hmm. And so I turned the study over to Dr. Ferguson.
Right.
And he kind of ran with the ball, as he tried to do with the Doctor's Hospital.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just had one question. In that resolution, it mentions raises ranging from 3 to 5, and you mentioned that the 5 is for the person who came, off their probationary period. So did everyone else just receive the 3%, or was there other range?
No,
was there something
everyone else got the 3.5. Is that correct?
3.5.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, everybody else got 3.5. Okay, that was my mistake.
Did you get the 3.5?
Yes, I did. Again, that was the board decision. She can be as outraged as she wants to be as far as I'm concerned. I look downstairs, you got 4 county commissioners, and they're making $80,000 a year. I consider Mike Hankey
you mean 3, right?
Commissioner.
You mean 3.
I consider
you consider Mike a 4.
He's the 4th county commissioner.
Okay.
Yeah. And now you're talking $320,000 part-time. And they say, well, we're not part-time, but that's fine. You know, how do you define that?
Getting back to the 43,000 veterans, is that in Stark County?
Yes.
And your take that when this story breaks, there are going to be none too pleased about it?
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so.
Could be a difference in sales tax passing and not passing?
Could be.
Veterans are voters.
Yes, they are. And they're
We
passionate.
are a very strong crowd as that.
They're passionate. In fact, I gave copies, as we'll give to you the copies of this from the prosecutor, and the board members will take this to their membership, and they will read these letters, and they will explain to the veterans what's going on here.
To the veterans, the various VFWs, those kind of things.
Mhm.
Is that who you gave? Okay, that's I was just.
Yeah, each one of our board members,
Okay,
we have.
okay, board members. Okay.
Over your years as being the executive director, how many fusses, that's my term of course, have you had with commissioners?
Well, you know, it's only almost every year. Every time budget comes around, there's a fuss, and I like the term fuss. But it seems to become more it's become more intense within the last few years. We've had meetings here when Mr. Bosley was still on the board, Perez and Hankey, and we sat here and we talked and rattled sabers, and we mutually agreed. We agreed. And the board, you know, we don't need a battle. We've done enough battling. But not one of the county commissioners has approached us and said, hey, can we sit down and discuss this? I think, again, you want me to come to you and tell you, I'm not a snitch, I'm not a rat, not a stool pigeon. I work for my board here. You know, I don't know if I answered your question or not.
I mean, what I'm looking back, how long you been executive director?
19 years.
19 years. So, are you saying that going back over the 19 years that this has been a pretty common occurrence, and using, again, my term, having fusses?
Well, you know, I think if I look back in the early years of my being executive director, it was there wasn't a lot of fussing. Way back prior to me being the executive director, there was no fuss at all. Our board, the county commissioners, Sponseller, Watkins, or whoever it was at that time would ask, hey, can you shave that budget down a little bit, cut back and help us out? The board did. And again, you know, as the board would do the same thing here, we've cut bare bones. Just within the last several years, I think there's been the county commissioners have been very aggressive. Again, I guess who wouldn't be? If my bait bucket's full and yours is empty, I'm going after your bait bucket.
So you understand, in a sense, why you're getting the kind of flack you're getting now.
Sure makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I posed a question to Commissioner Creighton as to whether or not commissioners would expect any retaliation from the Veterans Service Commission. And what I had in mind was your ability to get more money than you get. I wouldn't expect that would be coming from the Veterans Service Commission, but is there any likelihood that your board would react and say, hey, you know, not even your board, maybe membership, if this is what it's going to be, then let's go for the full amount that we're entitled to?
Not this year. Maybe next year. Yeah, because I had Mr. Moe, who was the director of the Ohio Department of Veteran Services, who was appointed by Kasich, and he came up here with the assistant, and we sat for a long time, talked about various issues and what's going on with the County Commissioners Association, and where they're heading and trying to change the legislation or whatever. And he asked me that question. He says, do you ask for that full amount? And I said no, and he just kind of jerked his head a little bit. Because if you read, again, as you say, you read between the lines, read between the lines. But we've never done that. And I don't think our board would retaliate to do anything like that. Again, I wish I'd have known you were coming up. The whole board was here just a short time ago to grab some of them.
And even with the increase in raises, you're still within your budget that commissioners gave you,
Mhm.
right? You're not. I mean, you don't have.
Oh,
to ask
no.
for more. Okay.
No.
Okay.
The exact dollar, that $17,000 for the pay raise, can you give us the exact dollar figure on that?
Sure.
It's like $17,136.92.
I'll figure it out for you.
Okay.
Thank you. But that is true. That even with the 17,000 increase to your I guess operations here, you're still within the budget that the commissioners gave you at the beginning of the year. Okay.
And you know, you hit right on that. You know what you just said? The county commissioners approved that budget. When I presented it, because they could say, well, we don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
We could object, okay? But they did.
And the salary increases were right in there, right?
Correct. That was right in the salary account. That was exactly, you know, it was my understanding and talk throughout the building that, and in fact I was accused by Mr. Burnaby that I created this problem. That they got the recording out right away to see what Mr. Toth said. Well, they probably didn't call me Mr. Toth, but to see what I said, and they said that I said there would be no pay raises. I did not say that.
So when they went back and checked the recording, it wasn't there?
Well, I don't know what they checked, but I know what I said.
Okay.
I know exactly what I said. I put that in there the last few or several years, and just because it's in there does not mean that there are going to be pay raises. Janet said, okay, you've answered my question. Because I can go back and say the real question was, Janet says, Bob, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. She wants to know, well, how do I explain to someone who's laid off or out of work that you're going to give your people pay raises? And that's what led to that. But they said that I said that there would be none, and that's what they based all of this on, all this fussing about.
Well, what was that, your specific response to that point she made?
That was it.
Oh.
It's been in there for the last few years or several years, and just because it's in there does not mean they're going to get pay raises.
But you knew that there was going to be at least one pay raise because of the probationary period, right?
Well, I'd hoped there had been two, but the one didn't make it, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
really, you did know that there'd be at least one, for sure.
Yeah, at least one.
And was that clear to the commissioners that was...
Well, that was never even explained. Again, it wasn't even, to me, it wasn't even considered a pay raise because that was a given. You come into a place, you pass your probationary period, you got this,
Right.
an increase.
Right.
And I do remember you having listed 2 people additional in your okay.
Mhm.
There was just
Yeah.
the 2, right?
Two,
Okay.
correct.
Because I remember you talking about how yourself and some others were going to be retiring, and so you need to bring in new people because it takes so long to train them before they're ready to assume the responsibilities.
See, Frank, who was the assistant here, he retired in September, and he was not replaced. Yeah, we talked about it. It takes at least 3 years to become competent in.
At a minimum of 18 months to even be accredited to do it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.